Okay, welcome back to part two. So, the OSCP is another certification. There's some good information there. I'll let you review and you can Google. Also, there's some notes in the book. There's also the Certified Ethical Hacker certification, another good one. Um, this is a good one. You'll most likely be placed on a team that conducts pen tests when you get hired by a company in this role. They often call it the red team, as I mentioned earlier, and you'll perform supervised testing and company approved tests of things that you are placing on a risk register, such as SQL injections is another one you could add to your risk register. Maybe searching out port vulnerabilities or identifying router or firewall vulnerabilities. Just as some examples. There's OPST. There's some good information there. I ask you to review that and look in your book as well. CISSP I like a lot. And later CISM, that's the Certified Information Security Manager certification. This is CISSP, which is Certified Information Systems Security Professional. This is a really good one. It tests security-related managerial skills, and it's usually more concerned with policies and procedures. It's not geared towards what I like, IT professionals, so you don't have to be an IT guru to get it, but it's highly respected and very valuable. Now there's the SANS Institute, the System Admin Audit Network Security Institute. They have certification training through Global Information Assurance Certification, or GIAC. So you'll want to look there for another opportunity if you choose. Which is the best? Often gets asked. It is difficult to say. It depends on what role or track you're looking for. But I would always start out with Security Plus or Network Plus and then Security Plus. That gives you a firm foundation for CISSP, CISM, and the others. Solid foundation, good place to start, because there are porous defenses. And the answers are these compensating controls that we're going to talk about in our risk register. And so to have a good knowledge of that is really valuable. Okay. Now, we've talked about certifications, but what can I do legally? Well, remember the average citizen on a jury, they don't want to send a person to jail for doing something the state prosecutor hasn't clearly defined as legal, right? And laws are going to vary from state to state. So you want to be careful here because the laws are different state by state, and there just isn't one standard. So some hacking tools on your computer might be illegal based on the state that you're in. So you want to contact local law enforcement agencies before installing hacking tools. Remember, laws are written to protect society. We talked about this in INST 570, that was law and ethics in IT. They're written words that are still open to interpretation. For example, in Hawaii, the state must prove that the person had intent to commit a crime, right? And I believe in Hawaii, the state must also prove that you were the one doing it. So if several people had access to your computer or to the server or to the IP, it complicates it and it's very difficult to prosecute in some states. But remember, in general, laws are written to protect society. But again, that interpretation piece, which is why we have courts and judges, etc., they're necessary, are around, okay? So, for example, in Hawaii, just scanning the network isn't a crime. In some states it may be, but in Hawaii it's not. Or it wasn't as of the writing of the text. And also the state must prove that the computer was used by only one person, which, is hard to do. It's rare. So, but be aware that the government is getting more serious about cybercrime punishment. In fact, over the last 2 months, I've seen dozens of commercials on TV from the U.S. federal government. I've never seen them before. The book is good about listing a number of laws of the land. As you read these, I want you to note for your risk register. One example was the downloading of millions of articles was a crime. They're just articles, but it was a crime. Another was the computer hacking that led to credit card theft, right? There's also the computer person hacking into law enforcement agency servers, right? Computer intrusion it talked about. These laws mentioned stealing gaming technology. And I think they said Apache helicopter training software. Another attack used SQL injection. And there was also stolen usernames and passwords, right? In some of these throughout the reading, the group Anonymous will be mentioned. You want to get familiar with their work. That's that hacktivist organization, right? There was an example given of cyber stalking a female based on, tens of thousands of possibly hacking attempts against administrative pages on a county website, right? This I mentioned SQL injection, I believe, comes to mind, and etc. These are just great examples of how the law has been broken and the law was used to prosecute. So be aware of that. Again, we get back to that question. Is even something as simple as port scanning legal, right? Well, some states consider it legal, but not always the case. So be prudent when using pen testing tools in your new role as a security tester, right? This can be very tricky. The federal government does not necessarily see this sort of scanning as a violation, and it allows the states to address it separately. And so you'll want to research the state laws, right? You'll also want to research your internet service provider, who has a list of acceptable use policy. Is another good place to go. And if you're unfamiliar with acceptable use policy, when I mention policy, that is one of the areas as a security tester you'd want to review. Acceptable use policy, internet use policy, password policy, etc., etc. Okay? Those are good items for your risk register. So this was just a copy from the book, still continuing that conversation about port scanning. Is it legal? I think we've been through this enough. Some states yes, some states no. Know where you're at. What about an IRC bot, right? This IRC bot is short for Internet Relay Chat Robot. A bot is a robot, right? So the first bot or group of them, if you group them, is a botnet, right? So are botnets illegal? Well, it depends. As botnets are just themselves networks of computers, there isn't anything illegal about creating a botnet of computers of your own, or if you have permission to control them, right? Researchers, for example, may be interested in creating their own botnet labs, right, that talk to each other or send commands to each other. So, but an IRC bot is a set of scripts. Remember we talked about scripts, that language, that coding that we write in the command prompt that does a series of tasks for us. So an IRC bot is a set of scripts or an independent set of programs that connects to the Internet Relay Chat as a client. And so it appears that you are just another user, another client in this chat room, right? But an IRC bot differs from a regular client in that instead of providing this interactive, dynamic exchange like human beings do, it performs automated functions, right? That's the IRC bot. And so an IRC botnet is a collection of machines infected with malware that can be controlled remotely via this IRC channel. Okay, and it usually involves a botnet operator. We call them a bot herder, controlling the IRC bots through some configured IRC server or routing. Okay, so for your risk register, consider adding the following: malicious bots. For example, they remain a dangerous and persistent threat even to today. Bad bots are the internet threat that just doesn't seem to ever go away. They steal data, they infect enterprises with malware, they launch denial of service attacks, they commit fraud, they bring down vital network infrastructure, they're used by nation states to influence elections and more. So please make note of that. These are some more examples of how the federal law impacts. Please review that in your book as we wrap up this chapter 1. Remember, there are legal actions and illegal actions. So what you cannot do legally, illegal actions are accessing a computer without permission, destroying data without permission, copying information without permission. Notice the theme there. And installing viruses that deny users access to the network or slow it down. So be careful. Your actions do not, that we do not want our actions to prevent a client, right, if we're serving a company or a contractor on a company, from doing their jobs, no matter what good we're trying to find, no matter what vulnerability we seek to discover. Okay, do not impact the business. And in fact, if you're concerned, and you should be, get it in writing. Always do a contract first. The book talks about going to www.icca.com and downloading an example of a contract, right? You have to join the organization. I think it's free. I'm not sure, but I think so. You join it and you can download a sample contract that they would have if you decide to go into business for yourself and do security testing on your own. There are also lots of books out there that you could read to help you with this. But always encourage a contract, okay? Ethical hacking in a nutshell. Here you go. Those are the skills. This is the summary continued that we talked about. I enjoyed it. That was chapter 1. Don't forget, let's do chapter 2 this week. Also, go there next with the slides. Thank you.